I wonder how I can mirror her. Uh, can I like mirror her somehow? Like, how do I do this? How the hell do I mirror my model? Oh, 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 didn't mean to do that. Whoops. What the hell? What the hell, man? Hi, almost cake. How are you? I'm good. Great. Working on a few things. I will be here. But we'll be here watching. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I really appreciate that. I'm trying to fix this thing with my model real quick. I want to know, can I mirror my model? Because she's looking this way and I don't like it. I mean, I'm gonna be watching this one, but like my chat's this way, facing that way that I'm like looking, but she's not looking that way, she's looking the other way, but I'm leaning this way. Looks so weird and awkward. Also, I got a new overlay. Pretty cute, huh? Just gotta figure out how to do this. I don't see anything that can like mirror my model. Can I like lock her? Yeah, I can like lock her. This is the best. Oh, this is the best I can do for her to look normal-ish. I haven't put out a tweet or anything yet, so we'll see who comes and who doesn't. I did put out on my Discord server that I'm live, and yeah. Also gotta fix something else. There's always something to fix before I freaking start stream. I'm so annoying. La 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 la. That looks better. Oh, that looks so much better. Okay. Alright. I'm gonna turn the music off. And we can start with this video. I already kind of started just to see if everything works. Everything should work. Let me just make sure. There we go. Alright. Well, this is the first video we're gonna watch. We're gonna watch 10 scary videos that are nightmare fuel from obviously Nuke top 5. So let's see how this goes.
This next Nuke's Top 5 exclusive video was sent in by viewer
Let me
Michael
put it in big
Youngblood.
screen.
The video was shot near Winchester, Virginia, a city that was the site of some of the bloodiest battles of the US Civil War. Michael is filming his friend Jake when they capture something that they just did not expect.
Let me get
What?
you from the front.
Okay. Alright, ready?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You recording?
Yep.
Oh, now my socks are like wet because of the ground.
You.
Look at that. Yeah. Yeah. Oh.
Did you see it? When looking back at
This
the video,
looks
Michael
very
and Jake are shocked to
staged.
see what looks like a mysterious figure dressed like a Civil War soldier and carrying a long, old-timey musket. The creepy apparition silently walks across the field right behind them. But
Nah,
Michael and Jake
that's
say that
fake.
they didn't see anyone at the time. So could this be the spirit of a fallen Civil War soldier?
Look at the
Let me
fingers
know
even. The
what you
fingers
think.
like in front of the camera to stop the
Shadows of Doubt.
light from
It's a
reflecting
normal
too
Friday
much.
afternoon in Opelousas, Louisiana,
The
and
background.
Dante Saunier stops at a service station to get some gas. Suddenly, he notices something very strange inside a parked and empty school bus across the street.
This bus. You about to go walk up to this bus? Look at that. Look at them children playing. Look at that. Let's go see. Let's go investigate.
Pointed at the fucking bus.
An empty bus.
Now all the children are at the bus. I would have been pointing it the whole time at the bus. What the hell?
An empty bus.
Strange, creepy shadows of children can be seen walking through the school bus, even though the vehicle is parked and completely empty. Dante says that he walked over to the bus and even drove his truck around it, but saw no one and nothing to explain the bizarre apparitions. Dante was creeped out by the entire experience and posted his video to Facebook, where it quickly got over 2 million views. As of today, the mystery of the school bus shadows remains unexplained. The Midnight Whisper. Red Easer Mike is up around midnight after his family have all went to bed. He suddenly smells a strange odor coming from the living room, and he suspects that one of the family pets might have urinated on the floor. But
You
as
mean
Mike begins
shit?
searching for the telltale puddle, something scares the absolute out of him.
What the fuck? Even the cat's like, what the fuck happening?
A small childlike voice seems to whisper, "Mike," from somewhere nearby. Mike just books it up the stairs, leaving his dog and his concerned little kitten in the background to wonder what the hell just happened. Now, Mike says that he lives in an old 1850s house near the coast of Herring Cove, Canada, that has a slight bit of dark history, but he says that he's never experienced anything remotely paranormal before this night. In fact, Mike has never even made a single post about anything supernatural until this strange incident that literally sent him running.
Literally saying Mike. Why would he run upstairs?
The Thing in the Tunnel. Nuke's Top 5 viewer Sophie reached out to us about a very creepy video that her friend Laura recorded in an abandoned railway tunnel in Hassel, Germany. The tunnel was built in 1890 and it was used extensively by German troops during World War II. So, while on a weekend trip, Laura checks out the historic old abandoned rail tunnel. She's recording with her phone when she captures what is maybe one of the weirdest clips I've ever seen. Check it out.
Oh. That tunnel's huge. What is that hanging from the ceiling though? What the fuck is that?
Something pale and thin can be seen rising up from the tracks in front of Laura on what looks like a thin little arm. As for Laura, she gets one look at the disturbing thing and just turns and makes a run for it. Now, watching this clip over and over, I honestly
Yep.
have no idea what this is. It looks like maybe a hairless torso with two skinny arms, getting up in a very unnatural way.
What the fuck?
Maybe it's an animal, maybe it's a very weird looking person. I just don't know. So you tell me what you think this is down in the comments. We need scary videos, so if you've seen one or even filmed one
Did.
yourself, contact
I'm a
me
lie,
at
but I'm dead.
nukestop5@gmail.com.
I'm alive, but I'm
Evil
dead.
Alexa. Now this next video is about the dangers of accidentally scaring yourself. 8-year-old Jackson and 2 of his friends are having a sleepover at his home in Grapevine, Texas. The 3 fearless young boys decide to ask the family's Amazon Alexa to tell them a scary bedtime story. It was then that they realized they had made a huge mistake.
I don't know that. Alexa, tell me a bedtime story. Sorry, I don't know that. Alexa, tell me a horror story.
That is
Alexa,
not a good thing.
Alexa, stop. Alexa, turn off. Alexa, was that creepy? Yeah. It wasn't. Alexa, play.
What the fuck? What is gonna? They're overriding the thing.
What's your problem? Nothing's scary at all. Alexa, stop. Alexa was
You know,
As
I wish
requested,
Alexa would
begins telling
be
a
more scary
story,
than
starting
that.
with, "Did you hear that?" The 8-year-old boys lose their damn minds and just begin to scream and yell
This
for
isn't
Alexa
scary.
to
Don't
stop.
nukes 5. Bro, I'm gonna get a new video because this one is Nuke's Top 5 is not that scary. Um, 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 um. Whoa. Elena Spooky Boo. I think she made a video on she made a video. Hey besties. This one.
The fame of Ed and Lorraine Warren, known as the adorable Ghostbusters, has soared in 21st century pop culture. This rise is mainly due to the hugely popular Conjuring movie series, loosely inspired by their lives. Vera Farmiga portrays Lorraine and Patrick Wilson plays Ed. The franchise has also spawned successful spin-offs like
Oh.
Annabelle, centered around the Warrens' eerie doll, and The Nun, featuring a demonic entity from the previous films. Additionally, in 2009, the horror hit A Haunting in Connecticut and various best-selling books depict the Warrens as fearless defenders against the supernatural. However, not all of this is based on reality. Some might protest, not Ed and Lorraine. They were pure-hearted couple who battled evil across America in the 70s and 80s. But the truth is actually much less fantastical. Reports of their involvement in famous cases like the Amityville haunting were exaggerated. While their ability to exorcise spirits is doubtful, their talent for self-promotion was certainly undisputed. Now don't get me wrong, I really did want to believe that the hauntings they worked on were all real, but the more I researched their life and work, the less convinced I really have become.
Yeah, they've
Hello, and
been
welcome to
outed
Haunted
for
Tips. I'm your
some
host,
wild
Steve Meyer.
things,
Before I
some
spill the
lies
tea
that
on
they've
Ed and
told
Lorraine
and
Warren,
stuff.
ooh, we have to sip the tea.
Why is it
Oh, it's
spicy?
probably
Today
super
there are two contrasting
quiet for
images
y'all,
of the
huh?
Warrens. In one portrayal, popularized by the Conjuring
Is that
movies, they
better?
were depicted as a lovable, wise, brave couple anyone would admire. However, skeptics view them differently, seeing them as manipulative opportunists and fake psychics, exploiting vulnerable families for fame and fortune. The Netflix documentary, The Devil on Trial, explores this perspective, suggesting the Warrens were not as virtuous as portrayed. Moreover, allegations surfaced after Ed's death in 2006, accusing him of engaging in sexual relationship with an underage girl, and apparently Lorraine knew. So, who were the Warrens, and how
Oh,
did their
that's
reputation become
weird.
so controversial? Well, here we go. Ed and Lorraine hailed from Bridgeport, Connecticut, both raised in the folds of the Catholic faith. Their paths intertwined in 1944 during their teenage years. By then, Lorraine had already embraced her purported abilities as a psychic medium, while Ed's fascination with the supernatural had deepened after growing up in a house that he believed to be haunted. After serving in World War II, Ed pursued art studies in college. However, his passion veered towards the paranormal, leading him to channel his artistic talents into exploring the unknown alongside Lorraine. Together, they went on ventures to allegedly haunted houses. Ed would sketch portraits of these dwellings, presenting them as gifts to the homeowners to gain entry. Once inside, Lorraine would often attempt to communicate with the spirits. Their reputation as demonologists and ghost hunters gradually flourished from these endeavors. In 1952, the couple founded the New England Society for Psychic Research. Currently, the New England Skeptical
They made a
Society
lot of
emerged in
money doing
1996,
this. If it is
offering
all a lie, they made a
contrasting
fuck
viewpoints
ton of
and
money.
becoming one of the Warrens' most vocal critics. The emphasis on research lent credibility to the Warrens during a time when the interests of the occult surged. As their son-in-law, Tony Serpa, notes on the website, the Warrens became a beacon to those seeking assistance when no one else would lend an ear. Over their extensive career, the Warrens reportedly investigated over 10,000 cases of paranormal activity. Among these, several cases propelled them into the limelight, partly due to their adeptness at leveraging their involvement of their book deals and the publicity. For example, while the Warrens were among many paranormal enthusiasts who investigated the Amityville tragedy, they were among the most well-known, and their involvement is frequently mentioned in the prevalent pop culture
Oof.
narrative surrounding it. In case you didn't know,
Flash-
the horror unfolded
flashbang.
in Amityville, Long Island, just before Thanksgiving in 1974. The residents at
1974.
112 Ocean Avenue belonged to the DeFeo family. Ronald, the eldest son at 23, confessed to the gruesome murder of his parents and 4 younger siblings. During his trial in 1975, DeFeo claimed insanity, stating that he acted under the influence of voices in his head. DeFeo was eventually convicted under 6 counts of second-degree murder and received 6 life sentences in November 1975.
6 of
He
them?
passed away in prison in March 2021 at 69 years old. The house lay vacant until December 1975, when George and Kathy Lutz purchased it and moved in with their children. Despite having the home blessed by a priest, they seemingly encountered torment at the outset. George recounted to ABC News in 2002 how doors slammed. Unseen forces immobilized him in bed while his children's beds seemingly bounced uncontrollably, and his wife underwent a startling transformation and levitation. Just 4 weeks into their stay, the Lutz family fled, leaving behind their possessions. 5 months later, Ed and Lorraine Warren arrived to investigate. Ed was allegedly physically pushed, while Lorraine experienced haunting visions. The Warrens claimed to have captured a photo of a demon child in the basement, concluding demonic forces were at play. The Lutz family sold the house and relocated to California. The property changed hands several times, and no further reports of paranormal activity happened, according to the New York Post. The case would go on to inspire numerous movies based on the Warrens' investigation. However, the most real incident out of all of this was Ronald DeFeo Jr.'s murder of his 2 parents, 2 brothers, and 2 sisters. In truth, all the demonic manifestations that the Lutz family came to experience were possibly not real. Dr. Stephen Kaplan recounted the true narrative in his extensively documented book, The Amityville Conspiracy. As a parapsychologist, he had been invited by the Lutz family to investigate the events early on. However, when he stated that if he discovered a fraud, he would reveal it, the Lutz family fired him and promptly replaced him with, you guessed it, Ed and Lorraine Warren. Steve Kaplan was vindicated when William Weber, the DeFeo's lawyer, revealed later in the sworn testimony that he and the Lutzes made up the narrative about the demonic home over several bottles of wine. But surely the Lutz family did have some independent evidence or eyewitness accounts of the poltergeist events? Well, no. Nobody else saw them. George and Kathleen Lutz were the only ones who witnessed all of the demonic activity. According to the police records, the Lutz family did not even call for aid during the 3 or 4 weeks of alleged hauntings, though the movies and novels do state that the cops were called in. Theatrical, you know? In reality, every alleged demonic apparition that led the Lutz family to evacuate the residence was debunked. The supposed havoc wreaked upon the house, including doors and windows, were allegedly torn off their hinges or smashed. They showed no signs of damage upon inspection. Even the purported demonic footprints in the snow that materialized during a period when the weather records that there was no snowfall at all. Similarly, the small third-floor windows, said to have been cracked in the shape of a quarter moon, displayed no evidence of cracks or repairs. The infamous Red Room, believed to be a sinister dungeon, turned out to be nothing more than a plumbing access space. These discrepancies continued throughout the Lutz family claims. Eventually, the Lutz family even admitted that the entire haunting story was a fabrication. This was an admission that emerged during a series of messy legal battles. In one trial, their former lawyer, Weber, sued them for allegedly excluding him from a lucrative book deal, seeking a staggering $2 million in damages. Another trial ensued when the subsequent homeowners sued the Lutzes, author Jay Anson, and the book publishers for fraudulent claims of hauntings. They argued that these claims led to the invasion of their privacy, as curious visitors frequently trespassed on their property at all hours. Ronald DeFeo Jr., the murderer whose actions sparked the initial fascination of the house, denounced the entire saga from prison as a money-driven hoax. He emphasized that the only real aspect was the tragic murders, rejecting the notion of ghosts or demons. Furthermore, individuals falsely credited as witnesses to the alleged demonic events also threatened legal action against the Lutzes and Anson. Consequently, these individuals were discreetly removed from later editions of the book. Subsequent owners like Barbara and James Comtree reported to no supernatural encounters in the house. Their only issued statements from nosy tourists and bystanders was to deter unwanted attention.
Standards.
Bystanders!
That's a Selenaism.
Later, the owners even renumbered the house and altered its distinctive features. I'm thinking of those big windows, right? The supposed Amityville haunting has been frequently disproved and universally regarded as a hoax by almost everyone who witnessed the episode, with the exception of the Warrens, who insisted for years that Amityville was the most haunted area they'd ever seen. They benefited greatly from their dedication to the topic. They worked as story advisors on the 1982's Amityville Horror 2, a prequel about the DeFeo murders.
We should watch all those.
We should. And of course, The Conjuring 2, which mentions the Amityville investigation. Who
Hi,
doesn't know
Sylvie.
about the
Thank you
Amityville
so
Horror
much for the
Nobody.
posture check.
What a money
How are
horse.
you?
Big time, buddy! Most significantly, Amityville's notoriety increased their visibility and established them as go-to authorities for all things paranormal. Even I've spoken to Lorraine. Several additional reported hauntings and exorcisms would go on to become inextensively linked to the Warrens. The 1991 made-for-TV
We're watching
film,
some
The
scary
Haunted, we need to watch
videos
that, in which they play characters,
of Selena
is
Spooky
based
Boo.
on the account of the Smurl family, purported paranormal case.
Sorry, I was so
Their
quiet, by the way.
best-selling 1992 book, A
I was
Dark
talking to
Place,
some family
co-written
members real
with
quick.
novelist Ray Garton, details their study into a supposed event that inspired the 2009 film The Haunting in Connecticut. That's a good one. On
I mean,
that
yeah.
occasion, the Snedneckers claimed to be seeing spirits of those whose remains had previously passed through the mortuary turned to home. Eventually, this led to demonic possession. However, according to a highly cynical interview,
Hi,
Garton
Sylvie.
alleged that he had
Hello,
gave
hello,
the
hello.
Horrorbound magazine, which was later republished on the Paranormal Studies and Inquiry Canada website. The Warrens not only knew the whole thing was a hoax, but also told Garton to invent whatever details he wanted to sell the
Whoa.
story. As I gathered all the necessary information for the book, I found that accounts of the individual Snedneckers didn't quite mesh. They just couldn't keep their stories straight. I went to Ed with
Oh
this
my
problem.
god, so they're
"Oh, they're just
lying.
crazy," he said.
Yes, we're watching
"Everybody who
spooky
comes to us
stuff.
is crazy. Otherwise, why would they come to us? You've got some of the same story. Just use what works.
This is
and make
like
the rest up, and
like
make it
sort of
scary.
like a
You write
documentary.
scary
This is sort of like a documentary about Ed and Lorraine, like they're lying, and like people that they have apparently like helped with supernatural stuff, and nobody could keep their story straight and whatnot. So like, yeah. Hi, Lyle. Hello. Welcome. Do you guys see the new layout? It's so pretty, huh? It's so pretty. I love the layout. I got it. I got it from fuck. What's the creator's name? I need to link her stuff. I literally just put it together today, right before stream. But I'll put it in the credit at the bottom of my about section. Definitely. You like it? Oh, let me show you. Let me show you. Okay, so this is a starting soon screen. Starting soon. Look how cute. And that's a stinger, obviously. Also, the Warrens were lying. Uh, so basically what happened is, like, a lot of people have said that they have lied about some stuff. Like, about hauntings and, like, some stories they have fabricated and made extra dramatic. And some people's stories aren't straight enough to, like, make it be like, oh yeah, they're not lying at all. Like, somehow some people that they've went to back in the day, um there's this family home. I can't remember what Selena Spooky Boo just said, but, like, apparently they confessed to everything being a fake and a fabrication. So, like, it's not true, it's not real. Not about, like, everything, I wanna say, just, like, the stuff that they have done. Like, Lorraine always said she's, like, a psychic kinda thing, like, and Ed, I think Ed kinda wanted to make money out of this all and everything, and also Ed was beating Lorraine, and gosh, and it's not looking good. Bro, I just got done watching all the Conjurings. What the fuck? Yeah, the Conjurings, they're based on real stories from Ed and Lorraine's life, but they're not true, if that makes sense. Like, the movies are extremely dramatic, like, of what actually happened, even if that is what actually happened. So yeah, most of the things they have done are lies. I know it's so shit to say, but, like, it's true. Some things are real and some things are just, like, straight up, like, nonsense that they just made up. Like, there's this family that also said they saw, like shadows and shit in the house and, like, whatever. Yeah, they saw some shadows, but Ed and Lorraine, like, literally made it so dramatic and was like, they're floating on beds. Oh my god, they're possessed. Ah. But anyway, we can watch with me. Watch with me and you'll understand.
Books, right? That's why we hired you. So just make it up and make it scary. Garten also implies that in that interview that the Warrens changed their expertise from ghosts to demons only because of the popularity of The Exorcist. Back when I was reading about the Warrens, they were ghost hunters. Every house they investigated had at least one ghost, and there was always a spooky story behind it. But after The Exorcist was so wildly popular as the novel, then the book, Ed and Lorraine stopped encountering ghosts and started to uncover demon infestations. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? Then there is the famed The Devil Made Me Do It trial, which was the subject of the new Netflix documentary and the premise for the third Conjuring film, officially titled The Conjuring: The Devil Made Me Do It, in which the Warrens allegedly assisted in the exorcism of a young child called David in 1980. During the event, which took place during the early years of Satanic Panic, a participant named Arnie Glunton, the boy's elder sister's lover, supposedly challenged the demon to enter him, causing him to become possessed and then shoot and kill his landlord. Alan Bono, during the subsequent murder trial, the defense attempted to assert demonic possession.
That's
However,
really
the court
red.
denied
Holy
the
shit.
defense, and Johnson was later found guilty of first-degree manslaughter.
Mm-hmm.
The Warrens left all that behind with another bestseller, the 1983 The Devil in Connecticut. This is all intriguing, to be sure, but the Glatzel family has since been
Mm-hmm.
bitterly divided over the events about David, who was 11 at the time, claims if he was truly possessed, and his elder sister Mary Johnson, and lived with him until her death in 2021. Meanwhile, his older
Damn, it
brother
was like
Carl has long
2 years
maintained
ago.
that his family staged and
I mean,
exaggerated
3
the
years ago. It's
occurrences, while the
2024.
Warrens enticed and encouraged them in the desire of their own fame and fortune. Yup. In 2007, he sued the Warrens, saying the book was based on complete lies and that the Warrens concocted a phony story about demons in an attempt to get rich and famous at our expense. The action, which was
Yeah, that's
eventually
fucked up.
rejected, alleged that the Warrens portrayed Carl's real-life skepticism as an enmity caused by his own demonic possession, a characterization that stuck with him ever since. In the new Netflix documentary, he even accuses them of driving his family apart. And on it goes. Every major incident in which the Warrens have been involved over the years was completely disproved, presuming supporting evidence was ever presented in the first place. In other situations, the Warrens claimed to have video or photographic proof that literally never happened. In one 1990 encounter, Ed Warren described a film I took of a female spirit who allegedly was wandering a gravesite. The film was never released, and the spirit
Yeah.
was apparently created by
When
a
they
woman named
when they say they have like footage and stuff, they literally never released any of the evidence. None. Literally none.
Judith Penny, who was wearing a white bedsheet over her head. The counter argument to all the skepticism essentially goes like this. The Warrens did profit from the books and the public appearances, yes,
Yep.
but they never charged for investigating cases. They gave some of the profits from their books to families impacted by the cases, and they didn't make that much money. They seem to believe in what they're doing, and if they did exaggerate, Plus, even the skeptics who investigated them commented on how nice they both were. Surely, they're nice.
Scotty! Scotty! I dislike you! How are you doing? What's up? Why am I talking like that?
People, and they couldn't be scammers, right?
No.
Yet, underlying all of this debate and undermining
No,
all of
not
the
the
Warren
Warrens
supporters
being
is a much darker cynicism
scammers.
surrounding who the Warrens were, particularly the difference between their public
That
and
sucks,
private
man.
faces. Judith Penny, who is sometimes described as Ed's assistant or his liaison, was alleged that beginning in the early 1960s,
The
Ed
sexual
Warren, then in his
healing
30s,
begins.
was grooming her. In 1963, when she was 15, Penny
Oh
claimed
my
that
god, it
Warren
is a
moved her
pedophile.
into the Warrens' house in Bridgeport, and then commenced a full-blown sexual affair
How are you,
with
Scotty?
Lorraine's full
What you doing?
consent. That lasted a few years before Ed's death in 2006. Penny's alleged relationship with Warren came to light in 2017 via The Hollywood Reporter, which was critical of both the Warrens and the Conjuring franchise for continuing to valorize the Warrens and the allegations of Ed Warren's predatory behavior that first came to light in 2014. Both Warner Bros. And the Warren family have painted Penny as a vulnerable elderly woman being manipulated by bad actors into fabricating claims as a part of lawsuits filed by various greedy parties against the Conjuring franchise. Lorraine never commented on the allegations, and she passed away in 2019. However, there seems to be some proof. Penny was reportedly arrested for delinquency because she moved in with Warren, and her presence in the house gets a nod in the 1980 book about the Warrens, The Demonologist. That is one of my favorite books. In alleged
Ooh.
grooming allegations sit to the core of the conflict surrounding the portrayal of the Warrens in both written accounts.
Just chilling, how are you? I'm doing good. I'm doing good. We're watching some scary videos. This is about like the truth about Ed and Lorraine Warren. So yeah, we're just chilling. It's Monday, so it's kind of like Media Monday for us. I haven't done this in a bit though, but yeah. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing here? Huh? Huh? Huh?
And pop culture. On one hand, the immensely successful Conjuring franchise, worth billions, thrives on an audience's affection for the Warrens as its characters. However, this affection is rooted in belief of their real-life purity and sincerity, a belief that becomes increasingly challenging to maintain.
They're
as more
both
details
passed
surface
away
about their
now.
lives. Take, for example, Lorraine Warren's depiction
You ever go live on TikTok? No. How do you go live on TikTok without having 1,000 followers, dude? I literally have like 75 TikTok followers. How am I supposed to go live if I'm not allowed to? I can't. How am I supposed to do that? Just supporting my friend. Oh, dude, you suck balls. Omen and Nor.
As a devout, virtuous Catholic in the movies, often depicted as bravely confronting demonic forces. In reality, according to Penny's allegations, Lorraine was not only aware but also complicit in Ed's abuse. Penny further claimed that Lorraine pressured her into undergoing an abortion.
Ooh.
Additionally, Penny alleged that Ed was both physically and verbally abusive to Lorraine.
I've been seeing a lot of people go live on TikTok that have under 100. How? Tell me how. If anybody knows how to go fucking live on TikTok without having 1,000 followers, please share that, because every time I go on TikTok and I try to figure out how to go live via my PC, please, I need help. I'm so confused on why I'm not allowed to go live on TikTok, but I see other motherfuckers going live on TikTok that doesn't even have 1,000 followers.
Throughout their marriage. Feminist author Jude Doyle condemned the portrayal of the Warrens as heroes, asserting that any glorification of them is reprehensible in the light of these allegations. In essence, the public's admiration for the fictional Warrens drives curiosity.
I don't know, I don't know, to be honest, I was able to go live with around 9:50. Do you have TikTok Studio? I did download it, yes. But it still said that I couldn't go live. Maybe I need to try harder to Google and figure out, because I didn't really. Only thing I did was download TikTok Studio, and I even went on my own TikTok and then was like, they said I can go live if I have TikTok Studio, and I have TikTok Studio, but when I try to go live on TikTok Studio, they say no, you need 1,000 followers. And I'm like, bruh, let me in. Omen and Nor. Because if I can go live on TikTok, I'm gonna do restream, where I stream to Twitch and TikTok at the same motherfucker. That's how I do it. I don't know, maybe they're letting more people now. I'm not sure. It's been a game changer for my streaming though, for real. Dude, I so badly want to do it. If you can send me screenshots of how you like even start, like how do you even start doing it, I would be grateful for that. I would be grateful. I would appreciate that a lot. Cause I'm pretty tech savvy, kinda, but I'm also dumb, and the two don't mesh together well. Guys, if you can guess what I'm drinking right now, I'll give you $50. If you can guess what I'm drinking right now, right in front of me, I'll give you $50, and you only get three options. You can only get like 3 turns. Literally open TikTok Studio and hit go live. It was really simple. I don't remember it being that simple. But I'll check again, and if it doesn't work, I'm gonna send you a Dr. Pepper? No. You think South Africans have Dr. Pepper here? What the hell? What the fuck? How did you guess apple juice? Did you guess that? How did you guess apple juice? What the fuck? We do have Dr. Pepper? Oh, we do? Whoa, Scotty, what the fuck? I literally have an apple juice box in front of me right now. Yo, I'm not giving you that $50. I'm not giving you the $50. I don't even have $5 in my bank account, dude. I think I first saw it about 9 years ago in the store. How are you, Livia? I'm doing good. How about you, Rosie? Dude, Scotty, I don't know how you fucking got that correct on your second try. I'm gonna. What the fuck? Yo. I'm not giving you the $50, dude. I fucking lied. I lied. I lied. Somebody clip that, please. I'll beg. Cancel. Nobody's canceling me. I am uncancelable. Cancelable? Is that like a word that you can use? Cancelable? You're doing great. That's great, Rosie. I'm glad. I'm really that you're doing good. Imagine having $50. Exactly. Couldn't be me. Couldn't. Absolutely no. People who have $50 are losers. Losers. I honestly can't believe you guessed that correct on the second try. What the fuck? I'm flabbergasted. I'm flabbergasted. If we have $50, we buy. You buy $50 worth of KFC? What the hell? No, but for real though, that's true. I wish you could see what I'm doing, but I'm like, I'm the goat. You are a fucking goat. Must get some buckets now. Dude, mashing gravy and like, you guys are making me hungry now. Listen, listen. Better stop talking about food. You're making me hungry. I have a lunch bar in front of me. It's a chocolate, a type of chocolate. It has like I can't read it. It's too dark, but let me try. Milk chocolate crammed with wafer biscuit, caramel, peanuts, and crisped rice. Yeah, that's what it is. Rachel! Hi, Rachel! Hungry. I'm hungry. My apple juices and my lunch bar in front of me. What time is it for you? It is almost 8 o'clock. Like 10 minutes and then it's 8 o'clock. Rachel, how you doing? How you doing, Rachel? Rachel, how you doing? Whoa! Thank you so much for the resubscribed. Let's
Rachel Iltzy
go.
just subscribed for 3 months. Meow, how's the spookies going?
The spookies are going good. We were just about like almost done watching. What the fuck? I keep spilling apple juice all over myself. Cause I keep squeezing the box. We were about to watch The Truth About, well, almost done watching The Truth About Ed and Lorraine Warren. Just like about how they like lied about their stuff and like them getting money and like there's lawsuits that happened and like all those fun stuff, you know? I don't know how I feel about Ed and Lorraine because Ed was a fucking abuser and a pedophile. He was a groomer as well. He put apple juice in your mouth. Dude, I'm trying, but I keep squeezing the box and then it like squeezes out. Now it's all over my blankie. Eh. I'm such a fucking. What is wrong with me? Uh, this is the moment where I'm like, I get these like super like these moments where it's just like I'm aware of myself and I'm aware of what the fuck I'm doing. And it's just like I'm sitting in front of a computer right now, being an anime model with my apple juice in front of me. I keep spilling onto my blanket. I'm sitting here in the dark. And I'm talking to online peoples. This is my life. Is Annabelle really cursed? A lot of people believe Annabelle the doll, like the legitimate actual doll, is cursed, but I think people also think that Ed and Lorraine really lied about the like amount of cursed. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't think they think it's on that level that they described Annabelle as. Yes, the blankie. Also, I'm gonna start playing. I'm gonna play. We can listen. No, what am I doing?
And scrutiny of the Warrens. Paradoxically, this increased the awareness, which makes it harder
Why
to
is it so
sustain
quiet?
interest in the fictional portrayals. Nevertheless, Warner Bros. Continues to capitalize on the Warrens' legacy and the Conjuring franchise,
They're
but
dead
with some
now, though.
adjustments. And hey guys, those are some of my favorite movies ever. While spin-offs like The Nun and Annabelle have shifted focus away from the Warrens, they still serve as spiritual guides within the cinematic universe. As Bethy Squirrels noted in the franchise balancing act between
It's a
religious
soft curse,
undertones
like if
and
you touch it, you
commercialism,
get itchy.
makes it a captivating subject for analysis.
No, they still say that if you touch, like, if you try to mock Annabelle and stuff, like, while she's in the case, you will get into, like, car accidents and shit like that. And people have gotten into car accidents as soon as they um, lift the Warrens, like, place where they keep their cursed objects. Like, if after they mocked Annabelle, they got into a car crash. Like, right when they left, the house. So there is some, like, little weirdness to the doll still, but I don't think like she can obviously she can't do what's described in the movie itself. That's that's a stretch, in my opinion.
The Warren legacy, primarily upheld in their son-in-law Spira, extends beyond the mere religious beliefs. On his website, Spira captures the essence of the Warrens' appeal,
Necronomicon.
highlighting their message in a world
There's
that often
Annabelle.
dismisses the supernatural. The fairy tale is true. The devil
All of these
exists.
items are
God exists.
supposedly like
But what
extremely
stands
cursed
out
objects.
here isn't just the mention of devil or God. It's the reference to the fairy tale. Spira recognizes that the Warrens' story isn't just about ghosts or demons. It's about the romanticized narrative of Ed and Lorraine as devout truth seekers. This fairy tale isn't just about dispelling mental illnesses with holy water and Latin chants. It's about finding purpose alongside your spiritual partner in a world full of skepticism. This narrative, however, is a part of the illusions that the Warrens expertly sold. While their actions may have stemmed from deeply ingrained religious fervor, they had unintended consequences. As revealed in Judith Penny's claims and the documentary Devil on Trial, real people suffered from the aftermath of the Warrens' exploits. Carl, for instance, was portrayed as a demon-possessed villain in the Warrens of the incident, simply because he insisted it was a hoax. Now, as pop culture perpetuates the myth of the Warrens, separating truth from fiction becomes really, honestly, increasingly challenging. Because we know things go bump in the night. We've seen it, we've heard it, I have. But that doesn't mean that in moments when things happen, my brain doesn't try to figure out if they're real or not. I believe a lot of what they saw, heard, and did was real. But I do believe a lot of it wasn't too. I'm still 50-50, but I'm very...
Hey, there was something real going on there, but they're actors too. Like, they amp up. You put on a show,
It's a
but it's
show!
still real.
Here's the thing. I respect Ed and Lorraine Warren. I think what they did was sick. Look what they've created from it. The thing is, ghosts are real, demons are real. Maybe a lot of the stuff they didn't. I feel like this like kind of falsely really shits on them a lot. I think that there's a lot of like spooky stuff
You've
out
got to watch too. Like, it can go to people's head, right?
Oh, thank you so much
So,
for
like,
the.
they could have been doing
sippy.
real things in the beginning that weren't so
I'll drink some
insane,
water.
but then maybe they did start making stuff up in the end.
So guys, in saying that, don't whistle in the woods at night. Don't cause yourself problems, and stay spooky. Hope you enjoyed the tea.
It could be like a semi-conscious thing, like when people believe in Slenderman, they start seeing him. Maybe some believe they'd actually crash a car. I mean, there's some truth in that, definitely. I think if you believe and consciously tell yourself like, hey, this is fucking scary, this is real to me, this is like real to me, you start pulling it into reality. If that's like the explanation that I'm trying to give, like, you can make it into reality if you believe in it enough. That's why some people, like, when I talk to some people and they say like, no, they don't believe in supernatural shit, and they're like, I'm like, yeah, you're putting your, because you don't believe in it, you think it's a joke, you're what do you call it, your like vibrations are like on a different level, that you don't see or hear these things as someone who's more open to the thought of it being real and stuff. I think that's a real thing. And it could be for anything and not just like supernatural stuff. It could be like for like opportunities in life, like getting a job. Like if you think too negatively, you're not gonna get the job. If you think you're gonna, if you're like, believe, yes, I'm gonna get that motherfucking job, you know, you might have a chance. Manifesting, exactly. Exactly. Let's see what other videos there are to watch. Sorry, I rubbed my eye. If my model freaks out, that's why. Bizarre Bub. I don't think we've ever watched these
The
people.
following video shows a couple who are getting ready for bed when something downright terrifying is caught on camera. The footage comes from an indoor home security camera that the couple had installed inside their bedroom. After the chilling events of that night, they sent this video to a friend who looked it over and concluded that what happened in their home is beyond explanation. Needless to say, the friend had found the video to be disturbing.
What the fuck?
At the start of the clip, we can see both partners doing their nightly routine. One's at the foot of the bed, while the other is inside the bathroom. Then, minutes later, the partner who is inside the bathroom joins the other in bed. It isn't until seconds later that we see both partners fully in bed. However, it is at this moment that something disturbing is caught on camera. This is what was caught.
Es que todo fue tan rápido, hermano. Todo fue tan rápido.
It all happened so fast.
Mira, todo estaba tranquilo.
He said the room got cold after turning the lights off. He felt very cold. I mean, that's what happens when you fucking turn off light. Brother.
The sheet suddenly pulls itself off the bed. The man then proceeds to check the bathroom, when all of a sudden, he's attacked by something. The woman is also attacked by an unseen force. They then leave the room at once and promptly run to the front door. But then something else happens that has left the couple even more disturbed than before. Take a look.
No sé, mira,
mira cómo comienzan a salir más cosas.
Más cositas de esas. Mira,
ya.
todo ahí de una sola. Todo de una sola.
Fuerte, eso fue como todo el cuarto.
Hermano, es que no, de ahí no termina todo, loco. Es que es en toda la casa. O sea, él tiene que salir rápido de esa casa. Yo ya le dije. Sí, en toda la casa.
Y ahí está un pájaro. No, está todo bien. Ahí sale el pájaro. Ya mira que le toca la abrir.
Mira, ahí es que ya no puede si la bajo en peso, pues la bajo en peso. Mira, oye, mira, son los cuadros. Mira.
Apenas prendió el foco se cayó eso.
Mira, me la vi loco como es peluco. Mira, ahí.
All right. I'm gonna get out of this. This is also a really fucking fake video. Holy shit. Like, again, I've watched these videos quite a lot, alright? And I can tell when a video is, like, fake as hell. Let's watch some Call Me Chris. She has, like, a few, like, things that she talks about. This one. Unquote killer.
Crime, conspiracy, cults, serial killers, and murder. All things that I love to consume, and I know you do too, you sick, beautiful-minded, intellectual freak. And today we're doing something a little different, all right? We're going to be going over 3 different serial killers, 3 serial killers who have never been caught, which is terrifying to think about. But I always think these are very interesting. We're also going to be going over all the murders and all the suspects and all the little conspiracies involved in all of them. So unbuckle your seatbelts, go Mach 5 down the highway, slam on the brakes, and let's bust through this windshield into these unsolved cases together.
Damn. She got a nice intro, what the hell?
First off, we're gonna start with the Cleveland Torso Murderer. Cleveland was a growing city before the Great Depression. Being on the Great Lakes allowed for economic growth, and the city really began to prosper. However, there were still dark spots within the city. One of those was Kingsbury Run, which was along the Cuyahoga River to about East 90th Street. And many people who were affected by the Great Depression often were forced to move there. It was filled with large homeless encampments, railroad hoppers, and lots of trash, dude. If you had trash, it was here. It was also right next to an area known as the Roaring Third, which was filled with brothels, gambling dens, cheap hotels, and rooming houses, and also bars, further adding to the depravity of the area. And this would be the location where all the murders took place. And it would all take place September 1934, when a woman's remains were found by a young man on the shore of Lake Erie. She was just a torso with legs amputated at the knee. Other parts of her body were found in later searches. However, her head was never found, giving her the name the Lady of the Lake. Coroner A.G. Pierce also noticed some kind of preservative had been applied to her skin, making it red, kind of like leather. But at this point, no one knew what was to come, and the official case for the murderer had not open yet. So this murder specifically wouldn't even be included in the official victim count until 2 years later, which brings us to a year after, in September 1935. 2 more bodies would be discovered in, don't laugh, Jackass Hill. Who named this? Just a street down from Kingsbury Run. One was identified as 28-year-old Edward Andrassy because of his fingerprints. The other was a 40-year-old white male who was never identified. And Andrassy's body would be found completely naked except for a pair of socks. And get this, he was drained of all of his blood and had rope burns on his wrists. He was also emasculated, if you know what I'm saying.
No,
so just like the most diabolical, like who's doing, for what purpose? It just, all of these murders are so gruesome and intricate. It's extremely strange. The other victim was also emasculated and had the same preservatives as the Lady of the Lake. There are some crime scene photos of these bodies.
Oh, that's
I'm
fucked
not going
up,
to show them.
man.
I'll just describe them. We have the full body, naked body of man with the socks on, with no head. My brain doesn't even let me think that this is real. It is horrific. I'm not going to show that obviously on YouTube. And then there is also a photo of the missing head of one of the victims. Unbelievably horrific. I can't even imagine dying like that. My heart goes out to the victims, obviously, always, and also whoever killed them. You're a piece of shit, and I hope you burn in hell. Okay, let's get back to it. Only a few months later, in January of 1936, a woman would discover the body of Flo Polillo. I love that name. A barmaid who worked
Lo
in
Palillo.
Roaring Third. Her body would be wrapped up in
That's a good name.
newspapers and put in 2 half-bushel baskets and dumped
Whoa.
next to the Hart Manufacturing building. She was killed by decapitation just like the other victims. But a unique thing
No.
about this murder specifically is that the murderer waited to dissect the body until after rigor mortis had set in. There is also a crime scene photo that I'm not going to show of the body. It's very hard to even make out to begin with. I don't really want to make it out, to be honest. So, it's just terrible. Wouldn't recommend looking any of these up. And later in that year, in June 1936, 2 young boys had discovered the head of a white male inside of a pair of trousers in Kingsbury Run. I can't imagine finding that shit as a kid. Like, as a kid, you kind of always want to come across something crazy. It's not like I was looking for bodies as a kid, but you'd see a ditch or something, and be like, I bet there's a body in there. If I found it, I could maybe be on the paper. But then you find it, and you're just like, horrified for the rest of your life and tormented with nightmares. So I feel really bad for these kids is what I'm trying to say. Within 24 hours, the decapitated white male was dumped on the Nickel Plate Railroad police building steps. And the victim was never identified despite having fingerprints and 6 tattoos. A plaster death mask was
Oh my
also
God.
displayed at the 1936 Great Lakes Exposition, and his official name would become
He was
the Tattoo Man. There would also
brutally
be
killed.
several
Jesus
other plaster
Christ.
masks that were made of the deceased just so they could get identified, and they would be made by taking photographs of the deceased person's face and then be made by plaster. So it's not actually the person's face, YouTube. It is just a plaster mask, okay? And when the Tattoo Man was found, his body would also be drained of all of its blood. And there is a autopsy report that is public. It's very interesting. Extremely hard to read because doctors, although go through years and years of schooling, don't learn how to write in any sort of legible way. So I can really only make out like a few words here. Like head severed at chin, clean and straight. I don't know. Multiple cuts. Something. It's not. Who wrote this? Anyway, if you want to try reading that, it's up on screen. You can pause it and try to read it. I'm gonna move on. And 1 month after this, a teen girl would find a full body of a 40-year-old male. Dead body, that is. I think that was implied. But there was also a large pile of bloody clothing next to the body, implying that the body remained where it was murdered. This body was also never identified. And the crime scene photo is also just, I can't even explain. It's just, it is a man. And in September of 1936, victim 6 was discovered after a man was trying to hop on a train and tripped over the upper half of a man's torso in Kingsbury Run again. And the police would find
Holy
the
shit, he
rest of the
tripped
torso
over it?
and both legs in an open sewer pool nearby. The man was also never identified. And by this time, the murders were catching people's attention, obviously. And so when they were retrieving the body from the pool, there was over 600 people gathered to watch, which is gross, but also I understand. As people, we're just curious about these things. And if you're from a town where I'm from, where nothing ever happens, that's where you want to go, you know? I understand.
I mean,
it
yeah,
is
it's
highly
true.
believed that the murderer was in the crowd watching this all take place, because that is very common. Murderers love to come back to the disposal place and relive the experience, and even more so when people are around watching it take place. They take great pleasure in that sort of thing, so it is extremely highly likely that he was there. And the coroner would also note that the body was extremely clean and had extremely precise cuts as well, meaning that the murderer was strong and had good knowledge of the human anatomy. And this would be a picture of the shirt that was found next to the dead body by
Holy
the pool
shit.
sewer. And by this point, the city of Cleveland was really starting to feel the pressure. And the detectives on the case, Peter Marilow and Martin Zuliski, what the fuck are those names? Worked tirelessly to interview as many people as they could. The former coroner Pierce would be replaced with Samuel Gerber, who had a law degree and vast medical knowledge so he could work on the case with the detectives. Furthermore, a new safety director, Elliot Ness, was added to the case as well. And there would be 3 more murders in 1937. February 1937, a man would find an upper torso of a woman on the shore of Bretenal? What the? Look at this. This is the spelling. What is that? I don't know. And her lower torso would be
Worth to
found
know.
3 months later, washed up on shore. But her case was unique because she was not killed by decapitation. Also, I just noticed that behind me is the Hereditary poster, and she's cutting her own head off. That was not intentional. Also, great movie. You should go watch this after we're done. But the victim was in her 20s and unfortunately never identified. In June 1937, a boy found a skull next to a burlap sack filled with skeletal remains of later unofficial identification of a 40-year-old woman named Rose Wallace underneath a bridge. And in July 1937, so only a month later, the National Guard was called to the Kingsbury Run area to control uneasy laborers, while their guardsmen spotted a body part in the Cuyahoga River in the wake of a boat. And the rest of the body would be recovered later except for the head. But one thing to note is that the abdomen was emptied and the heart was completely ripped out, showing the killer's aggression start to escalate a lot. Not to mention that the murders are happening closer and closer together, which we see throughout most serial killers. They begin to escalate more and more, and the time frames and cool down periods become shorter and shorter. But the final 2 confirmed victims would be in 1938. In April of 1938, a laborer found a woman's leg on the banks of the Cuyahoga River, and later police would find 2 burlap sacks with her torso and both of her legs in it as well. Coroner Gerber would also find drugs in her system, and this is the first victim that they would find drugs in, so it could have meant that they sedated the victim and then the murderer took advantage of them being under the influence, but it was never confirmed because her arms were never found and she was unidentified. And the last known murder would be in August 1938. A group of scrap collectors would be digging through the garbage and they would find not treasures, I'll tell you that. They would find a torso of a woman wrapped in a man's double-breasted blue blazer. That's very hard to say. And then wrapped again in an old quilt.
Fuck.
And the arms
I was
and
muted.
legs
Yeah, I was muted. I said, yeah, I think, yeah, so, I will read it after stream because I saw you wrote a little bit. Yeah, I'll respond to it after stream, okay? I promise. Thank you so much for sending me a DM. Appreciate it.
would be found nearby in a newly built box wrapped in butcher's paper and held together by rubber bands. This guy's just like having fun at this point. He's just like, what else can I do? I feel like he's just in his garage just grabbing for whatever and just being like, I'm gonna put
Lol, are you saying I wrote a block of text? No, not a block of text, but God damn it. God damn it, you got me. No, but I'll read it after stream and then I'll respond to you and then give my full attention to it and like go look it up because I saw what you wrote. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
this here and this there. I feel like this guy's just trying to do his best to evade police and evade any sort of pattern or like pattern that anybody could follow and not finding him. Clearly he was successful because we're talking about serial killers that haven't been found, but I was just like, how the f do you come up with that? And the victim's head would be found.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how he
hasn't
even been found yet. Like that's insane. Like they're probably old and or dead by now, actually.
And continuing to look through the dump more to potentially find more body parts, the police would find a second body only a few yards from the first. And the bodies would be conveniently placed within the view of Elliot Ness's office window. And that is what brings us to the suspect's conspiracies and updates on the case. So let's look at suspect number 1. In July of 1939, a 52-year-old bricklayer, Frank Dolezal, was arrested for the murders of Flo Polillo, Edward Andressi, and Rose Wallace. He had actually lived with Polillo for a little bit, and he was well acquainted to both Wallace and Andressi, tying him to all the murders. However, investigators would notice that when he was in custody and questioned about the murders, a lot of his confessions knew niche details, but he was also rambling about nonsense all of the time, and some investigators believe believed he was heavily coached. And in a crazy turn of events, a few days before he was supposed to go on trial, Frank was found hung dead in his cell.
my
And it is
God.
believed that he was murdered in his cell because he was hung from a hook that was 5 foot 7 inches from the floor, and Dolezal was 5 foot 8 inches, meaning it would be near impossible to hang yourself because naturally the body will pick itself up once it's under distress.
I mean,
distress.
not really. If, say, for instance, you're doing that and you're taller than the ground is to the roof and stuff, and you want to do that, some people have it in them to literally just hang out. Literally, they will do it if they really want to do it, no matter what your body signals you to do.
I don't know. Either way, he got murdered.
Some people just
Additionally, it
don't
was
have
found in
that.
his autopsy that he had 6 broken ribs to boot. So the strange circumstances surrounding Frank in his confession and his murder pointed him to taking the fall as the real killer. But there's also another suspect. Suspect number 2. Dr.
number
X, aka Francis E. Sweeney. I prefer Dr. X. Sweeney was an accredited and, can you guess it, a somewhat troubled surgeon who lived, get this, next to Kingsbury Run. He also had access to multiple medical facilities in the area that would allow him to dissect his victims without question. Red flag, red flag. Francis would be interrogated extensively by Elliot Ness and other investigators on the case, but he would never confess anything. You piece of shit. I mean, unless he didn't do it, but it's really sounding like he probably did it. And he was also never directly linked to any evidence from the cases either. But it is generally believed that Sweeney was, in fact, the Cleveland Torso murderer, because once he admitted himself to a sanatorium, the murder stopped all together. Pretty suspicious,
yeah,
if you ask me.
that's
But that
suspicious.
concludes our first unsolved serial killer murder streak. So let's move on to the
It probably
alphabet
was the
murderer.
doctor.
And no, it is not even close to as fun as it sounds. And by fun, I just mean alphabet. I don't know why that sounds. It just reminds me of Sesame Street. There are no Muppets or fun learning activities involved in this case. This next story would begin in Rochester, New York in 1971. And I'll just go ahead and tell you the reason why these are called the alphabet murders is that the victims, unfortunately them being kids, were murdered around the ages of 10 and 11, but all 3 victims' names weirdly had the same first letter in their surname, same first letter in their first name. So if you were Molly Mulligans, you were murdered, basically. And all
damn.
the bodies would be found in towns with the corresponding initial, adding an even more horrifying element to their disappearances. So if you're Molly Mulligans from Montreal, you were double murdered. But any weird jokes aside, that's how I cope with these. I can't read through these without trying to have some sort of light, otherwise it's just too dark for me, dude. But trigger warning, all these murders do involve children, so I just want to let you know that, but let's get into it. So the first murder began November 16th, 1971. A 10-year-old girl named Carmen Colon disappeared on her way back from running an errand for her grandmother. According to witnesses, Carmen would be going into a pharmacy to pick up a prescription for her grandmother. However, the prescription wasn't done yet, so the doctor said that she could come back later. And the store owner would hear her say, I gotta go, where she then headed to the parking lot and entered a parked car. She was then reported missing a few hours later. And then she would be witnessed by a group of motorists on the highway down Interstate 490, running down the interstate with no pants on and a shirt on, and it seemed as though she was running from a vehicle that was going in reverse towards her. And what makes this story so awful and sickening and it just makes me sick to my stomach is that none of the motorists stopped to see if the girl needed help. They only witnessed it, but they never actually got out and did anything about it. And the police were also never called. A witness would state that Carmen was being submissively led back to the vehicle, probably by her abductor. And 2 days later, she was spotted not far from the same interstate, 12 miles from
if you
her
saw
last
that
sighting.
shit,
However,
help?
the sighting would be much, much more dark. Her
Stop
body
being
would
a
be
bad
found in a
fucking
small
bystander.
ravine on November 18th. Her clothes would be found 300 feet from her corpse.
Y'all hear me
and her
bang?
pants were found
Bang.
days later
Look,
on November
fucking
30th,
goat.
near where multiple motorists spotted her that first day. An autopsy would reveal that she had been and she had a fracture to her skull and vertebrae.
They
Before
could have
being
fucking
strangled.
saved her
She would also be
life.
covered in fingernail scratches. And this would spark outrage in the papers and public. Not a single onlooker offered to give her help, causing her to meet her untimely death. If somebody got out of their car and helped, she probably wouldn't be dead. And because of the outrage, multiple newspapers offered a reward of $2,500 for any information leading towards the suspect. And local businesses would fuel the reward until it reached $6,000, which at the time was a lot of money. But even with the rewards and several suspects and investigations, there was no official suspect and they were cleared. But billboards would pop up with the text, "Do you know who killed Carmen Cullen?" The billboards would be 30 by 12 feet with her face on it asking for any information that could be given, but unfortunately there were no new leads. But talk about a town coming together. I love to hear that. It's like so unfortunate that nothing came of it, but it's just so heartbreaking. So the next victim wouldn't happen until about a year and a half later in August of 1973, and it would be Wanda Walkowicz. Wanda Walkowicz was born August 10th, 1961 in Rochester, New York. She lived with her mother, Joyce Walkowicz, and her siblings in a modest neighborhood on Avenue D, and she was described as a bright, friendly, and responsible child. And she was so cute. And she would also be known for her very, very helpful nature. So on April 2nd, 1973, a Monday, Wanda would be last seen leaving a grocery store on Conkey Avenue, where she had gone to pick up groceries for her family. This is such a different time, dude. This is such a she's a child. Like, the fact that people had their kids just going out to get groceries, like, of course they didn't come back, dude. Of course, like, it's just the irresponsible. It's a different time. It was a different time, okay? If I ever have a kid, dude, strapped to my hip. Strapped to my hip. Mom is crazy. I've watched too much shit. All right, I've done too much research. All right, please don't let your kids go get groceries on their own. It's very irresponsible. But I understand it was a different time, and I'm not putting any blame on the family. That's horrific. Anyway, let's get back to it. She was dressed in a green coat, black shoes, and carrying a white bag. She would begin her walk back home, but she would never complete it, and she would never return. Wanda's disappearance immediately alarmed her family and the community, and a massive search was launched, involving law enforcement, community members, and volunteers. 50 detectives in total contributed to the search for Wanda.
Jesus,
but tragically, the search would
50.
end the following day when Wanda's body was discovered by a motorist in a gully off State Route 104, approximately 7 miles from when she was last seen. And the autopsy would reveal that Wanda was found with additional signs of physical trauma, indicating a violent and very, very brutal attack. But there were a couple notable differences between Carmen and Wanda's death. One is that Wanda was found fully dressed, like she had been reclothed after the murder, which isn't that uncommon, especially when murderers feel remorse after they've done something. It is more common in children as well, through my research at least. And another would be, while Carmen was strangled by hand, Wanda would have marks on her indicating that she was strangled with something else, probably a belt or something shaped like a belt. I feel like the murderer is evolving in this way because there's a large cool down period. His first murder was a little bit more sloppy, whereas this one seems like it was a little bit more planned out. And the Saturday before her murder, however, Wanda was joined by a younger girl, and she said that they had been followed by a stranger as they walked along the train tracks that ran parallel to Conkey Avenue, the same road that was home to the supermarket Wanda had visited before her disappearance. Neither girl had gotten a good look at the man, as he had been hiding in a bush when they spotted him. Creepy. So this was reported, but he was obviously never found. And the investigation into Wanda's murder was extensive and exhaustive. The Rochester Police Department, along with the New York State Police and the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, conducted extensive interviews and followed up numerous leads. But despite their concerted efforts, the investigation grew quickly cold with no significant breakthroughs or suspects. And one of the major challenges faced by the investigators was the lack of advanced forensic technology available at the time. So despite the best efforts of the law enforcement, which I think there was a lot of effort for once from law enforcement, the case remained unsolved. But as technology advances, they are still looking into Wanda's murder, especially with breakthroughs in forensic technologies, making it easier for modern law enforcement to link DNA. Evidence collected at the crime scene has been re-examined using modern techniques and technology. So New York State Police continue to pursue leads, even as recent as April 2023, which is Awesome. And the murder of Wanda, along with the murder of Carmen in 1971, seemed to be pointing to a potential serial killer in the Rochester area, targeting young girls with alternative names, and it would be a killer that would strike, unfortunately, again. And the next victim would pop up several months later on November 26, 1973. An 11-year-old girl named Michelle Mainza, who was reported missing after she failed to return from school. Eyewitnesses' accounts from her classmates said that they had seen her walking alone around 3:20 p.m., so after school, traveling to a nearby shopping plaza that was near the school. The intention of the visit was to grab her mother Caroline's purse that she had supposedly left inside one of the stores. Never send your kids to run errands alone in public places. PSA from Auntie Chris. Thank you. Okay, anyway. And a few minutes later, witnesses would observe Michelle sitting in the passenger seat of a beige/tan vehicle that was traveling at high speeds, with her inside crying. And later that same day, at around 5:30 p.m., a motorist observed a man standing by a car with the same description, tan beige car with a flat tire, parked alongside Route 350 in the town of Walworth. He was seen holding a young girl by the wrist. When the motorist had stopped and asked if they needed assistance, at least this guy stops, the man would quickly grab her wrist even harder and push her behind his back, standing in front of the license plate so the motorist couldn't see it. All red flags extremely all around to the motorist, and he would give the motorist a strong, menacing look, which would compel the passerby to drive away. What the fuck is wrong with— Clearly this isn't his child. Anyway, and this would unfortunately be the
that
last
would make
time
me
any
so
passerby
fucking
saw
angry
Michelle
too.
Mainza again alive, until a fully clothed body was found nearby in a ditch on November 28th at around 10:30 a.m. She would be found lying face down in the ditch alongside a rural road in Macedon, about 15 miles away from Rochester. And autopsy reports would show disturbing revelations, to say the least, including extensive blunt trauma to her body, strangle marks around her neck, and signs of— but weirdly enough, there were white strands of white cat fur discovered on her clothing, and a palm print was partially discovered on her neck. And analyzing her stomach contents, there would be contents of hamburger and onions, eaten only an hour before her disappearance and death, alluding to the fact that she might have been fed by the murderer before he actually murdered her. But this would allow detectives to match a partial description of eyewitness accounts of a man with dark hair, pale skin, and aged 25 to 35, standing approximately 6 feet tall and weighing about 165 pounds. And this was the description given by the eyewitness who claimed to have seen the young girl in the company of a middle-aged man at a fast food restaurant in the town of Penfield. And that is what brings us to our suspects, conspiracy, and updates. So our first suspect would be Miguel Colon. Miguel Colon was Carmen Cullen's uncle, our first victim, and was considered to be one of the strongest suspects in the murder of Carmen, especially with the relationship he had with her mother, Guillermina. After the separation of her parents, he became very close with her. Weeks before the murder of Carmen, her uncle had purchased a car that closely matched the vehicle eyewitnesses saw pursuing the child on Interstate 490. And when the investigators finally investigated the car, they noticed the car had been cleaned thoroughly. Suspicious, and even had a strong chemical smell from the powerful cleaning solutions. And the dealership said they had not cleaned the car with the solution prior to the sale, since Miguel had purchased a car extremely recently. Another piece of evidence involved was a doll that belonged to Carmen. However, Carmen's relatives stated that she would travel around with him a lot, and may have just left the doll in his car at the time. But something was weird with Miguel, according to his friend. 2 days after the death of his own niece, he told his friend he intended to leave the country, stating that he had done something wrong in Rochester. What the fuck was that, Miguel?
Shit,
He would go from
that's
Rochester
crazy.
to Puerto Rico 4 days after the murder of his niece. When investigators did finally travel to San Juan to question him on March 1972, the local newspapers would unfortunately give him away, causing Miguel to flee from authorities. However, he later surrendered on March 26th, where he was extradited back to Rochester for questioning. His alibis after being taken into custody and his movements on the date of his niece's death were not credible, shocking, and no one would corroborate these claims. However, despite despite the strong circumstantial evidence, there was no physical evidence to tie him to the case. However, Miguel would commit slewer slide in 1991 at the age of 44 due to an incident of domestic violence where he shot and wounded his wife and brother. So how he wasn't charged at all is a bit f***ed up to me.
Yeah.
You know, but we still have another suspect, and that is Dennis Termini. He was another strong suspect in this case, and he was a 25-year-old firefighter. He was also a prolific serial offender, known as the Garage Grapist, cool name dude, who committed a minimum of 14 counts of grape against teenage girls and young women from 1971 to 1973. Remember those years? Those years are important. He was also an owner of a car that matched similar descriptions observed by eyewitnesses during the girls' disappearances. And he would also live nearby at an address on Box Street, very close to the area where Michelle Menza disappeared. And in the weeks around the death of Michelle, on January 1st, 1974, Termini tried to abduct a teenage girl at gunpoint, quickly fleeing the scene when the teenage was uncompliant with his request and began screaming, as you should, always scream. Always scream and fight. Always scream and fight and cause a fuss, okay? Because you don't want to go to the second location. Okay, back to it. And immediately afterwards, he abducted another potential victim, but was pursued by police before shooting himself in the head. Anyway, a forensic examination of the vehicle revealed white cat fur, similar to that dealing with Michelle Menza's disappearance. However, in January of 2007, Termini's body was used for DNA sample to compare his semen samples recovered from Walkowitz, and the outcome of the test showed that Termini was not responsible for her murder, although no DNA from the other victims could be compared with Termini's DNA. So he was only technically off the hook for Menza's murder, with the other girls being impossible to test because there was no physical evidence for them to test. But we have one more suspect, and that is suspect number 3, Kenneth Bianchi. Bianchi? I don't really give a because he's a piece of shit. We're just gonna call him Kenneth. Also, who the f is named Kenneth? This guy was a actual serial killer, okay? It was not a good time to be in Rochester, New York at this time, because there's all these guys just walking around committing crimes. And Kenneth was, don't you know it, an ice cream vendor in Rochester that was known to have been at these locations close to the first 2 murders. And between 1977 and 1978, he and his cousin Angelo Buono
like the murderer.
Jr. I don't know your name. You're also a piece of shit, so I don't give a shit what your name is. Committed the Hillside Strangle murders of 10 young women between the ages of 12 and 28. So, we already know they're pieces of shit, alright? However, he was known to have driven the same color car. What is with all these guys driving tan beige cars? Just like Ted Bundy drove a tan beigey bug. What is that? Oh, you know what? No, I know what it is. I figured it's like non-distinct. It's not very like flashy, so they're like less likely to get caught, but clearly not. Alright? Also, I need to put my glasses on. My head hurts and I can't see. Okay? I'm just gonna look like Austin Powers right now. For the rest of the video. They would find his car during the time of the abduction site as well, yet he claims no involvement after he got caught for his other crimes. So it's just very, very strange. But we have even one more suspect. Suspect number 4, Joseph Nasso. Joseph Nasso was a 77-year-old man who was arrested in Reno, Nevada after the murders of 4 women between 1977 and 1994, all of which were women of the night. But what was weird about his victims is the fact that each victim's surname began with the same letter as their first name, the same as the alphabet murders. And he had supposedly lived in Rochester in the early 70s and regularly traveled between New York and California. However, despite being a person of interest in the alphabet murders, DNA testing did not match any samples from his semen samples. He would be brought to trial in 2013 of June 18th and was charged for the murders in Nevada, where he was convicted and sentenced to death. So I guess it was just a coincidence that he was doing the same thing as the alphabet murder, just in a different location. So why are the alphabet murders so strange? Stranger than what they already were, with the surname and first name of the first letters matching. The matching initials were also matching with the place where the body was found. For Carmen Cullen, CC, she was found in Churchville, New York. For Wanda Walkowitz, WW, she was found in Webster, New York. And for Michelle Mainza, MM, she was found in Macedon, New York. So this
Oh, that's
disturbing fact
fucked,
made the
dude.
case very confusing, and it was this notable characteristic that gave him the name the Alphabet Murderer. It could be a very strange coincidence, but I highly doubt it. It seems very intentional to me. But the story, unfortunately, as we know, does not have a happy ending. No one has been charged for these murders. So that concludes our second unsolved serial killer case. And now on to the last, and probably least, because none of these are good necessarily. It's just this is the last one, all right? It is the I-70 Strangler.
I-70
For those of you
Strangler.
who don't know, the I-70 Strangler is an unidentified serial killer who killed all 12 plus of his victims within the states of Indiana and Ohio. His killing spree would last from June 1980 and end in October 1991. And the reason he was given the name the I-70 Killer is because all of his victims were dumped along Interstate 70. The victims would be all adolescent young boys he met at gay bars within a 4-block radius of Indianapolis.
Oh.
The bodies would be either fully naked or partially clothed and dumped in rivers and ditches along I-70. But strangely enough, there was also another unidentified serial killer called the I-70 Killer, where he killed 6 store clerks along I-70 from 1992 until possibly 2001. I guess the moral of the story is don't drive on I-70. I'm not gonna. You won't catch me on I-70, dude. What the? So let's get into the murders. The first victim would be a 15-year-old
funny, I like
man
her.
of the night, Michael Petrie. Petrie was known to work around the gay bars in Indianapolis. However, on June 7th, 1980, he would be reported missing. After his disappearance, he would be spotted riding around with a stranger in a car. And it would be just 9 days later when his body would be discovered naked in rural Hamilton County, Indiana. He would die from strangulation, and there would be no traces of alcohol or drugs in his system. And the next victim would come 2 years later in July of 1982, being found
Could be
topless in a
vampire
creek in rural
murderers.
Hamilton
Could be.
County as well, specifically near Atlanta, Indiana. And his name would be Maurice Taylor, a 23-year-old
Can't even
man
see
of
his
the night
face,
who lived
really.
in a boiler room in an apartment complex in Indianapolis. And his cause of death wasn't clear, but the coroner did believe it was due to strangulation. His corpse would also remain unidentified for 8 months because his mother was in a mental hospital and couldn't file a missing persons report. The third victim would be Delvoyd Lee Baker, a 14-year-old boy found
Oh,
semi-nude
no.
in a river in Hamilton County. During the police investigation, it was revealed that Baker was seen riding to the Indianapolis city center and that he called home around 10:30 to let his parents know he would come home late because he was out to watch a movie. What was weird is that his parents believed that he had no cash on him when he left. However, it was later revealed by a friend that him and Baker would go to gay bars for the last 3 months and sell themselves out for $20 to $25 a night. So it correlates with all the other murders that have happened as well as being a man of the night. Clearly this was this murderer's MO because they're kind of easier victims because they're so easy to access. Furthermore, on October 2nd, Baker was seen crawling in a blue van driven by a white male. The next victim would be Michael Andrew Riley, a 22-year-old who disappeared on May 28th, 1983, and he would be the official 4th victim. He would be seen visiting the Vogue Theater, a nightclub in Indianapolis, and left with a stranger. Riley's body would be found nude on June 5th in a ditch in Hancock County, Indiana, near Greenfield, Indiana. His cause of death was strangulation with a towel. And the 5th victim would be Eric Allen Rotker, a 17-year-old male who disappeared on May 7th, 1985, and was found a few days later in a stream shirtless in Preble County, Ohio. His cause of death was also strangulation, but unlike the other victims, he had burn marks on his shoulder. On the day of his disappearance, he was seen at a bus stop and instead got in a car with a stranger.
Don't hitchhike, please. Don't hitchhike.
During the investigation, it was discovered that he was supposed to go to multiple job interviews the day he disappeared. However, he attended none of them. And one thing to note is that his friends and family denied that he was gay, but it was found that many of his friends were drug addicts and drug traffickers, which I guess alludes to the fact that he hung out with like a bad crowd. Not that gay people are a bad crowd, or maybe they were considered a bad crowd around those days, but he was probably gay and just not out, especially given that it's the same MO as all the other victims. But I digress. And then in August of 1986, the body of 29-year-old Michael Allen Glenn was found in his underwear in a ditch near Eaton, Ohio, and his cause of death was also strangulation. He was a handyman that lived in the outer limits of Indianapolis in a trailer, and he would remain unidentified for 3 years and was only identified through fingerprints. And 1 year later, on October 5th, 1987, at 10 p.m., James Robbins would go missing after leaving his mother's home, walking to the southern part of Indianapolis, and his body would be found 2 days later, completely naked in a ditch in rural Shelby County, Indiana. He was also strangled to death. And during the investigation, 2 witnesses would give conflicting information. One say they saw a Chevrolet Blazer, and the other one said they saw a red
nice
Jeep
car.
Wrangler Renegade near the crime scene. Jean Paul Talbot was found in a stream in Defiance County, Ohio in August of 1989. He was also strangled to death, and the next victim would be found only a few months later in August of 1989. Stephen L. Elliott, a man of the night, who was found only in his underwear in rural Preble County, Ohio.
Wait, why does this look like my friend Scotty? I know he's not probably here, but this looks exactly like this motherfucker. What the fuck? Scotty doesn't know that Fiona me. Chilling in her van every Sunday. This is exactly like Scotty, my friend. What the
near
hell?
I-70. His cause of death was
If
strangulation.
he had long
Clay
hair.
Russell Boatman, age 32, was a licensed practical nurse. He would be found in a ditch near Eaton, Ohio by a group of children in August of 1990. His cause of death would be strangulation as well. And the next victim would appear within the same month now, so now it's just escalating more and more, getting those quicker cool down periods. The body of 19-year-old Thomas Clevenger Jr. was found semi-nude along a railroad track near Greenville, Ohio. But one thing to note is that Thomas had a learning disability, meaning he could hardly read or write. He grew up also in a very poor neighborhood and began drinking and committing crimes like stabbing his school deputy's headmaster at the age of 14. He had also began man of the nighting himself near gay bars to make money shortly before his disappearance. So again, just same pattern. And the 12th victim and final victim that we know of was found in a ditch on a gravel road in rural Henry County, Indiana on October 7th, 1991. Otto Gary Becker, and he was age 42, and he would be seen in a vehicle with 2 other men and being held down by them, driving down a major road, which was I-70. So now that we're done with all of those murders, horrific, let's get into the suspects, conspiracies, and updates. By 1983, shortly after the death of Michael Andrew Riley, the investigation team on the case would be 8 officers and the FBI. And according to their profile of the killer, he was believed to be an overweight 45-year-old male. It was believed that he was middle class and had a good job, more likely married, but slept in separate beds and had no intimacy with their wife. Obviously. He was probably attracted to little boys and to young men, and this led to the possible destruction of his career. I love how they get so detailed with these profiles. It just reminds me of Criminal Minds, and I love Criminal Minds. I like getting into the nitty-gritty of this psychology of all this. Anyway, and the shame and guilt he felt from his gross obsession led to him killing. And another murder would occur while all of the other murders were going on. The body of Daniel Scott McNeve would be discovered in a field near Indiana State Road 39 in Hendricks County. It was at the time believed that this death was potentially linked, but also committed by a different killer. The other killer was believed to be a white male at the ages ranging from 20 to 30. He more likely worked a low-skill labor job and outwardly extremely homophobic, but more likely a closeted homosexual who murdered because of his self-hatred and shame, which happens a lot of the case with serial killers. He was also very much in shape and had a hyper fixation of all things military. And McNeve's murder would be linked to Larry Eiler, a serial killer also known as the Interstate Killer or Highway Killer, who murdered young men and teenage boys between 1982 and 1984 and died in prison in 1994 on death row due to AIDS complications. With there being numerous serial killers going on at the same time, it made it twice as hard for investigators to actually identify the I-70 strangler, which I don't really blame them. Clearly they were on the case, but there were so many people murdering everyone that they just couldn't whittle it down in the same area. Just don't drive on the I-70 highway, dude. I don't know what to tell you. But now that we have his description, let's look at the suspects in the case. Suspect number 1 would be Duncan Patterson, a 47-year-old man who in 1982 would be arrested in Indianapolis for statutory rape of young boys. He would be connected to the case because one of Delvoye Baker's friends recognized him when Baker was seen getting into his van. Patterson would also confirm this claim and say that he took Baker back to the hotel room and paid him $20 before dropping him off at the Indianapolis Central Library. And Patterson's claims would be backed up by eyewitness reports. And he would also pass the polygraph test. And he would be excluded as a suspect after his confession. You're still a piece of shit though. Okay, so suspect number 2 would be August Gus Cato, a resident of Carmel, Indiana, a town in Hamilton County where some of the victims' bodies were found. He was detained and interrogated, but no evidence was ever tied to him, and he was inevitably let go. So now we're on to suspect number 3, and that would be serial killer Larry Eiler. I don't know about you, but he looks like a piece of shit to me. He also looks like he could be anybody's PE teacher, and we discussed him earlier. However, after his arrest, investigators could not link him to the most of the killings and instead would link him to numerous killings across numerous states, and some that might even be linked to him in Kentucky and Wisconsin. Suspect number 4 is believed to be the actual I-70 strangler, and his name would be Herb Baumeister. That sounds like a straight up villain name. Herb was an Indianapolis native born in 1947 and born to a semi-wealthy family as well. From a young age, he was not normal, all right? His friends would explain that he had a pee fetish and would like doing things like asking them what their pee tasted like, and he would often pee on his teachers' desks. He would also be often seen playing with dead animals, you know, as you do when you're a serial killer. So he's definitely got that serial killer stew boiling on the stove. And what's interesting is there's actually an interview where he took Polaroids of a dead raccoon that had been painted over, and this was before he was even a suspect on the case.
I said to my son, they're gonna hit that raccoon with a spray gun, and sure enough, they just striped right over its face and neck. You know, didn't even move it, you know, no effort to, you know, get it out of the way.
Why are you taking pictures of a dead raccoon on the... It's just very strange. I feel this interview is so eerie. And he would later be diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia as well as antisocial personality disorder, leading him to not being social in high school and not dating anyone. He would go on to Indiana University in 1965 and drop out after one semester only to return in 67. He then would attend Butler University for a semester in 1972. Herb would then job hop around and eventually meet his wife. How the did he find a wife? But he did. Juliana in 1971, and
she looks like a man.
3 kids, but Juliana would report that they had only had sexual intercourse 6 times in their 25 years of marriage. I guess 3 times of which was successful. And she would never see him naked. And this matches the description given by police. Herb would also be admitted to a psychiatric hospital by his dad for 2 months. And when he got out, he founded the Save-A-Lot thrift store chain in Indianapolis in 1988. And this would allow him to move his family to Fox Hollow Farm, which was a very remote acreage. And this is important because when he moved to his new home, the I-70 would eventually stop. And his new home was crazy big lit, dude. It was 4 bedrooms, 10 baths, and 11,500 square feet with 18 acres of land. And he also had an indoor pool with multiple bars. This was the place to be, or not the place to be after what I explained.
Yeah, no.
Right now, this would essentially be his new evil lair. And at his new home, he would go on a insane, crazy killing streak. So far, 8 victims have been positively identified. However, as of January 2024, forensic teams are still working on the property and have found 10,000 human remains, meaning that he could be one of the most prolific serial killers to ever exist.
That's a big fucking
that guy
house.
that you just saw in that interview with the raccoon, that guy.
This was just, you know, the painter should have had a chalk line drawn around his career.
And there are 3 identified males that have not been found. Hamilton County coroners implore people to please come forward if they have male family members that went missing in the 1980s to the 1990s. So here are those unidentified victims. John Lee Baker Thayer, age 20, went missing in Indianapolis in May of 1993. Jeffrey Allen Jones, age 31, went missing in Indianapolis in July of 1993. Richard Douglas Hamilton Jr., age 20, went missing in Indianapolis in July 1993. Alan Lee Livingston, age 27, went missing in Indianapolis in August of 1993. His remains were discovered in 1996 and later identified on October of 2003.
Yeah, he has a little
Sterling
gate
Hale,
earring.
age 28, went missing in Indianapolis in April of 1994. Alan Wayne Brassard, age 28, went missing in Indianapolis in June of 1994. Roger Allen Goodlett, age 33, went missing in July of 1994. Before his disappearance, he was seen with Herb at multiple gay bars in Indianapolis. He was last seen leaving his mother's place where he lived. Michael Frederick Kern, age 45, went missing in March of 1995. He was last seen at a gay bar in downtown Indianapolis. Furthermore, his jacket was found at Fox Hollow Farm. Manuel Resendez, age 34, went missing in August of 1993. His remains were recovered in 1996, and he was fully identified in January 2024 from a family DNA sample provided in 2023. And Herb would be discovered by police when a man came forward in 1994 claiming that he was a regular at a gay bar and he would go by the name Brian Smart. Not so smart. And that this man had killed his friend Roger Goodlett because he had tried to kill him when he tried to strangle him using a pool hose at his mansion before he went missing.
They had an encounter in the swimming pool where the survivor was in the pool, and Mr. Baumeister came up behind him and placed a pool hose around his neck.
And it's important to note also, in 1994, Herb's son found a skull buried in their yard.
1994, she had observed possible human remains, including a skull and bones. Investigators say her husband claimed the skull had once belonged
He was
to
killed
his
in the
physician
90s,
father,
but only recently
took the skull,
identified.
and
Yup.
Mrs. Baumeister and her children never saw it again.
And when he asked his parents, Herb would say that his father, who was an anesthesiologist, had just given him a dissected skeleton and that Herb had just buried it in the yard. As far as I know, anesthesiologists don't really deal with skeletal remains.
Yeah, no, what the
So good
fuck?
cover up though. And the man who came forward also claimed that in 1995 he saw Brian following his car and taking down his license plate number. And the police were eventually able to identify Herb as Brian Smart. Brian not so smart. Am I right? Okay, and would confront him at his mansion and ask to search his home.
According to police, all of the missing victims have several traits in common. Chief among them, alternative lifestyles, a dependence on drugs or alcohol, and arrests for male prostitution.
He and his wife refused, but in 1996, Julie divorced Herb. I keep calling him Herb. I think his name is Herb. I don't care. He's a asshole. Julie divorced Herb, I'm gonna keep calling him Herb, after he began to exhibit behavior that terrified her and her kids. She would then consent to a search of the property where 11 bodies were found.
County highway workers joined sheriff's deputies in the search for more bones.
11?
They helped investigators clear away some of the heavy brush that covers an area discovered last Friday that holds even more bones.
Herb would flee to Ontario, Canada, and end his sorry life with a .357 Magnum. He would also write a Slewer Slide letter where he said that he was sorry for taking his own life and making a mess in the Pinery Provincial Park, and chose this location because his first location had too many children. Yeah, no shit, it's a park.
11?
Okay. He also talked about how he felt bad about his marriage and his burdensome business. He would express no remorse for his killings and victims, though, because he's a narcissistic psychopath. Herb's home has actually been in numerous TV shows now and documentaries, including Ghost Adventures, and the evidence against Herb Baumeister is pretty damning, and it's pretty clear that he is the I-70 Strangler, or at least somehow related. He was even tied to it in 1998 as well.
The FBI profiling came up with the conclusion that all of these people were killed by the same person. However, we had no information on who that person was, no leads or anything until last year Hamilton County discovered the bodies up on the Herb Baumeister farm.
So Herb is a disgusting monster of a human being who was finally stopped because of someone finally coming forward about his behavior in the gay scene in Indianapolis. But we do not know for sure if he is the I-70 Strangler. Odds are good, but it is still technically an unsolved case. So in conclusion,
Solved
I know
in my
that was
opinion.
a lot, but I hope you enjoyed the
That was fucking interesting. Holy shit. 11 killings, dude. Just just because he was gay and he was like hateful towards himself, and the fact that he was like attracted to gay men. What the fuck, man? What the hell? Dude, 11 people were found on his property. That's a lot. That's a lot of people. I don't even have that many friends. 11 people, Jesus. How do you... I want to say I wish I fucking knew the mindset of people like this, but I also am really too scared to even delve that deep into it, because the sheer like crazy nuts shit that has to go inside of your head to do stuff like this is like, what the fuck? It's so insane to me to even think about it. And like, I don't know, psychopaths, y'all, or some else. And not in a good way. In a really fucking bad way. A really bad way. Blah 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 blah. Oh, that was a long video. How long was this video? Damn, almost an hour long. It's 50 minutes long, this video. This was really interesting. I think we will be watching more of things like this. This is extremely interesting, and if y'all want to see more of this, please go to my Discord and let me know what you would like to see, like what type of videos you guys want to watch on Mondays. I'm guessing we're gonna be doing this on Mondays again, and then we can sit and watch a couple, either some ghost videos or stuff you want to send, or like stuff like real shit like this with like murderers and like psychopaths. I think that would be really interesting. We can have like a Psycho Monday. A little Psycho Monday. But yeah, that was super interesting. Everyone go follow Chris and go watch some of her videos. There's a bunch of them. I think she recently just started this type of content on her channel, but yeah, I think you guys should go and check it out, definitely. Definitely, because this was really, really good, in my opinion. Super well done. She kept me on edge the whole 50 minutes. The whole shebang. The shebang-a-lang. But I think we're gonna drop it there for tonight. It was really fun hanging out with y'all. And I hope you guys have a good night / day, depending on what time zone you live in. And I'll see you guys tomorrow for movie night. Remember, go join my Discord. It's a movie night. We watch 2 movies every Tuesday. We don't know what we're gonna watch just yet, but we will figure it out. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'll try and do like maybe Wednesday. I'll try and do a little bit longer of a stream. I know I don't usually do that long of streams, but we'll see. I do have to get used to it and like prepare some stuff before I just start making longer streams, but we can do that. I'm down. I just have to have a few things to do. Like, I don't want to be bored while I'm streaming, you know? Like, maybe we can watch some videos and then we can go into like Dead by Daylight, or we can go from Dead by Daylight to like watching some videos and all that. Hi, Diablo. We're we're ending stream. We're ending stream, you guys. What the hell? Tomorrow is movie night, so don't forget that. Wednesday is gonna be a longer stream, so if you want to come hang out with me Wednesday, you're more than welcome to. I'm probably gonna play some Dead by Daylight. If you guys want to join me, let me know. Send me a DM. Because Wednesday and Thursday probably I will be playing some DBD first, and then we can transition into watching some of this type of form content again. Definitely, because this was fun. I like doing this. It's very calming, and not calming, but like interesting, and like my attention is caught the whole fucking stream along. So we can definitely do that again. You just woke up? Damn! Sleepy baby. Sleepy. I'm a sleepy baby. Sleepy baby. Yeah, I hope everyone has a good night / day. I really appreciate all of you watching me and supporting me and just all of the above, really. But yeah, go follow my platforms, my Twitter, my TikTok, my YouTube, my fucking... What else is there? Twitter, I already said that probably. Go join my Discord. It's fun, I guess. We talk sometimes. When I'm in the mood. But yeah, I'll see you guys. Bye.